This is why I train in martial arts.
According to the FBI, crime in the United States has been declining over the past 5 years. What has remained constant is that the South still has the highest crime rates.
Newsflash. Guess what Maryland is? Look at that map again. Back up, look at the map. Maryland's in the South. I know we don't like to think of ourselves as the South. Maryland's in the South. That's where my classes are, in Maryland. That's where I make my living and I live, in Maryland. Maybe this crime tendency in the southern states is the reason why you should take a martial arts class.
A study done by Cohen and Nisbet in 1996 shows that the South has a culture of honor. This culture ultimately leads to violence. In their study, they tested aggression levels of Southerners compared to citizens of other regions. The results showed that Southern aggression ran so deep that it actually affected their physiological state by increasing their testosterone levels.
I am an IT nerd for my day job. That has got to be about the lowest testosterone level job you can possibly have. And yet, when the doctor tested my T levels, he was like, your testosterone's pretty high. Wonder if it has anything to do with the Southern culture I grew up in.
This aggression comes as a result of this culture of honor, which former sociologist Fisher describes in the following. From an early age, small boys were taught to think much of their own honor and to be active in its defense. Honor in this society meant a pride of manhood and masculine courage, physical strength, and warrior virtue. Male children were trained to defend their honor without a moment's hesitation, lashing out against their challenges with savage violence.
You think that the honor values from traditional martial arts would actually make a nice fit with this Southern subculture of violence and be a way to blend in and strengthen it, taking the best of both and truly creating a gentleman warrior, which would be a really good reason to enroll your children in martial arts classes.
The culture of honor and violence has prolonged over decades due to the differential learning theory. This theory states that you learn your values through intimate relationships. So, if you are a child watching your parent act with violence, you will learn the same thing and act the same way in the future.
I can tell you that a lot of the kids I get do not come from a violent background. And that's probably why their parents have them in the class, so they can learn how to handle people who do come from a violent background. Some kids have a lot of violence experience. Some of these 5-year-olds probably have as much violence experience as some 25-year-olds. And your kid has to go to daycare with them.
Another factor that could contribute to this phenomenon of violence in the South is the history of slavery and racism. This affects the amount of hate crimes committed. According to the UCR, 48% of the hate crimes in 2012 were about race. 65% of these were anti-Black. This number is staggering since only 13% of the U.S. population is Black. The 48% of racial hate crimes have not been sorted out by region, but as seen here, the South notably has more hate groups than any other region.
I found videos of people in hate groups taking MMA, studying martial arts, learning traditional and mixed martial arts, learning how to shoot guns, learning how to fight. Don't you think the people who might be targets of those hate groups, or who are just opposed to those hate groups, shouldn't they study some of that stuff themselves so they can protect themselves?
A 1995 study by Rice and Cotes tested how prominent the gender roles were in the South. Their results showed that although roles are evolving, the South has more conservative views on gender roles than non-Southerners.
I disagree with her on gender roles making people more prone to violate women. That's just ridiculous. Because what the gender roles actually teach us to do is to protect women. It teaches the good men to protect the women from the bad ones. So I'm not even going to go on to that because that's just going to make somebody throw a rock at the computer screen for real.
Another key factor contributing to higher crime in the South is poverty.
Yeah, I think we know why that happens because when people don't have resources that they need, they try to take them, whether they should or not. So that's pretty much an explanation for that there. So I think I probably agree with about 80% of what she was saying in her arguments. Her gender take just sounds like somebody trying to demonize the male gender. Because the problem is not hypermasculinity. The problem is people misapplying masculinity. That's what the problem is. People not understanding that the genders are different, but still have equal value. They don't have to be identical to have equal value. They just have different functions. And that's a great thing. That's what, to me, makes the world interesting. And speaking of which, it is probably why I have if you looked at all my students overall, I have a good balance of males, females, to the racial balance is practically, well, it's very reflective of the area. We have all races in the class because everybody needs to protect themselves from the bad elements of society, from the people that want to hurt people. Now, even though I do think there is some sort of a violent undertone in Southern American culture and also in which the so-called black culture, and really in what is so-called popular culture. I mean, politics aside, look, violence is part of human nature, and you're going to have to learn how to deal with it. Even if you're not a violent person yourself, you need to learn how to protect yourselves from the people who are violent. And there's one very affordable way for you to learn how to do that.
Go to the Temple Hills Community Center and register for the Taekwondo class. Call 301-894-6616. If you want to find out more, go to cecilryu.org, cecilryu.org. Peace.